My mother, Yehudit Shadur, has been known as the reviver of Jewish paper cuts in the 20th century. This is because Jewish paper cuts, the making of them has almost disappeared really after the Holocaust. Before the Holocaust, quite a few Jews were making them in the shtetls, and however there were also artists, quite fine artists among them, who made very elaborate paper cuts that hung in more public places, in synagogues. Jewish paper cuts were known as ceremonial and devotional artworks in Eastern Europe among Jews. They were quite widely made using simple techniques. It's a folk art form. Jewish paper cuts are devotional works of art. They honor the traditions. Many of them have inscriptions in them from the Bible. The most common form of Jewish paper cut is the Mizrach. Now, the word Mizrach means east, E-A-S-T. Often that word would be divided into the four letters that make up the word in Hebrew, Mem, Zayin, Resh, Chet. And each letter would be placed at each corner of the paper cut or somewhere in the composition. And that would mean from this side, the spirit of life. Mitzad ze ruach chaim. So the word Mizrach was the acronym for the phrase from this direction, really, the spirit of life. The first paper cuts that my mother made were Mizrach paper cuts, just like the traditional ones that she saw in books. And she started reading about them, and of course she took the elements in the traditional paper cuts and used them in her own. So her early paper cuts really are similar to the traditional ones you see with the menorah, the lions flanking the menorah perhaps, the deer, certain animals, and plant life, all symbolic, representing characteristics of being a good human being. The deer represent the people of Israel. The lion represents the sovereignty of the kingdom of Judah, and the independence of ruling one's own land. Often the crown of Torah is above the composition, and the menorah has flames pointing inward towards the crown. The grapevines are quite popular and common in paper cuts, and they represent also the spread of the people of Israel in the diaspora. They're populating the land and living in many places. Eventually, my mother, being a Jerusalem artist and being influenced by the scenes and the architecture in this old city with so many interesting references to the traditions and the history of Jewish people, she used some of the elements that she saw around her in her paper cuts and developed really a Jerusalem kind of paper cut with a temple in the center of the composition. For a secular Jew was not a religious Jewish woman, or to make such a body of devotional artwork that is considered religious traditionally, is quite remarkable. I think it actually made her a more spiritual person, to be more connected with culture through the Bible that she studied and learned and picked verses from for her work. So I think that was her way of observing the devotion.